Alright everybody, mic check 1, 2. This is Chompsky. Make sure we have audio going here. I'm not convinced the audio is working. Alright everybody. Oh, yep, it's working. Alright. Before we jump onto the chart here, first things first, let's go ahead and post this to our X account, formerly known as Twitter. Join us for a C-WAP video live now. And we're going to go ahead and post it onto our Discord and begin streaming there as well. Let's see here. Alright, we should be live on the Discord. Make sure we're unmuted there. Alright guys, let's go ahead and do this. Alright. Happy Monday night. It is a holiday, or it was a holiday in the markets. I hope everyone traded cautiously. For the week of last week, there was a lot of red news. I'm sure some of the indicators, they probably fell out of tune because of it. I haven't quite gotten there yet. We'll do a tuning video after this one. We'll make it separate so we can focus this time on the C-WAP indicator. And so, for those who have never seen this indicator before, it is a dual VWAP indicator that has a normal VWAP that plots intraday, and then it has a re-anchoring VWAP, which I call the C-WAP, that will re-anchor depending on an overbought or oversold criteria. Now, it also has a few other tricks hidden up its sleeve, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But first, let's go ahead and just look at the basics. So if you were to manually trade the C-WAP, you might want to just take a look at how it's re-anchoring first. Take a look there and just see if it makes sense here. And in some situations you might need to adjust it. As you can see, it does retest the C-WAP pretty often. It does go back and forth. You'll see pullbacks to the C-WAP before continuations. As in right here and here and here. And you will see kind of a similar theme. If you're on the right side of the C-WAP, a lot of times you end up with a pretty good hit average most of the time, from what I've seen anyway on my charts. And it can be a lot different depending on your chart. Just for this example, I'm going to use the ARC Renko BXT chart with a bar setting of 8 and a reversal setting of 52. There's no false ticks or offset ticks, so it does not have any fake ticks built in. And I'm going to leave the days to load to 10 so we can tune it a little bit here while we mess around with it. Let's see here. I think I may have crashed something right then. Make sure I didn't do that. We lost our music. What happened there? We'll go ahead and see if we can't make it come back. It appears it crashed. I'm not exactly sure why it crashed on my end, but it still says it's playing, so I guess maybe we didn't on YouTube as far as what's streaming, so I'll just leave it there and pretend I can hear it. I can't. Alright, so back to the C-WAP. So we have a little bit of a HUD display over here, heads-up display just to your left. This is going to give you a breakdown of some of what is built into the indicator. Now the last arrow is going to dictate whether or not you're in an uptrend or a downtrend. And this can help you kind of depict whether or not you want to be in a trade going one way or the other, depending on how you use the indicator. And just so you know, there's no guarantees in any of this. This is all going to be entertainment or speculation, or how I use it, and I don't recommend people just copy me. I recommend you test these things out and see what works for you. And so to push forward, we have a calculation for the push size, a calculation for pullback size, these are in points, an average push in bars, so how many points or how many bars on average is a push, and an average pullback in bars. And what you're looking for on this is basically where are the averages as far as when a pullback comes and when a push phase is going through. So if you're in a trend, you're going to have one size of this is going to be the push, generally going to be a lot stronger than the pullback. So you're probably going to get a lot more push than you will pullbacks if that is a trend, and if it's not, you're probably going to see this kind of stuff here where you literally have 3 and 3. It's more of a range. And so right now, that is the basic gist of what you're seeing over here. And the reason I say that is because a lot of that is not factored in directly to either the VWAP nor the C-WAP. That is factored into another indicator altogether, and I do not default this to be on because this one is a little bit wackier. If you turn it on, it is the projector or prediction line, and so you can turn it on by just adding a color to it, hitting apply, and this line looks a little bit funny, but what it's doing is it's taking this formula over here to the left, and it's telling the formula that I have built in which way things should technically be going if they continue in the direction they're going. And so right here, you can see it's pushed up pretty hard. This is basically saying, with this indicator right here, that it is expecting to push back up into this area right here by all calculations. And so if you wanted to, you could go along right here. I'm not going to enter a trade right here, but you could go along right here and technically aim for this right here. The problem is I'm not really in tune right now at all with the market, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm expecting it to go one direction or another. So, but if it pulled back to say the VWAP and still was up here on the predictor, it might be worth entering and then maybe putting a stop below a swing for a 2-to-1 or a 1-to-1 or something like that. So that's the basic gist of what you're seeing right here with this indicator. Like I said, I do not generally leave the predicting line on, but it is always on, just doing its thing in the background. And so if you ever wanted to turn it on, look at it and see what's going on, that is the general basic gist of what you're going to see. And so what you'll also get out of this little thing to the side here are these targets, and whether or not they are high probability or low probability based off of a formula that I have input into the indicator here. Now, to see the targets, they have to meet or exceed the probability chance here for the projected target to get hit. And for you to actually see them, you will probably either need to drop the threshold right here, the probability threshold, let's change it to 5%, and then you'll see a target up here, if there is one. And that's funny, because it's not even 5% of a chance right now based off of our formula. And so let's go ahead and drop it to something really, really low. Let's just say 1% right now. Oh, it is 1%, 1.3. I thought it said 11. Okay, so let's change it to 1, and there you go. That's your target. It appeared as a 1% chance of this thing getting hit according to the formula that I have in here. Now, that formula is not going to be 100% accurate. It's speculative, but if you play around with it enough on your bar type and you get your settings tuned in pretty well, you might find that it's a little more accurate than you would normally expect. So feel free to use it, but use it at your own discretion, and be sure to backtest the living heck out of that thing, because each bar setting is going to show a different target projection depending on the way the price action is going, the pullback sizes, the push sizes, etc. So you will find there are just some times that it is amazingly accurate. In fact, it kind of blows my mind sometimes that it actually works. not going to say it's perfect at all, but in some situations I've been pretty surprised at how well it can do. So I would say check that thing out and give it a good amount of testing, because you might be surprised. It might be the target projecting that you actually need. In fact, I'm going to pull up the 4-hour chart just real quick here, just to give you an example. So when this thing was bouncing down here, I think it was down here, it projected a target somewhere up in here. And I think when it was in this area here somewhere, it actually projected this green line up here. It may have been briefly, but it did project it. And these will go away after they get hit, or as the percentage decays, or as it may recalculate and put a target back in a different area. There's a few different criteria that reset it, but whenever it is on there and it is showing, that is generally saying here, this thing's expected, and it'll give that percentage right there, and 19%. And so it did surprise me when it pulled back down to here. I think maybe in this one, but either way, it pulled down to here and it projected a target back up in here. And I remember at the time I said, that is a lofty target. It's just kind of seems unrealistic, and sure enough, it hit it. Within the day or two, it hit it. So it can kind of surprise me anyway. So we'll go ahead, move forward here, and we'll talk about the targets just a little bit. I mean the arrows, triangles, just a little bit. First, I'm gonna turn off the prediction line here. And we'll go into a transparent mode again on it, so it's not cluttering the chart. And we will go ahead and begin looking at the signals that this guy shows here. We'll turn on the default settings. It may be good or bad for your chart depending on how it works. My target, I like to, on my chart, put it at 54 on the profit target and then 54 on the stop loss. And what that will do is right here, it'll basically give it a calculation for a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio, and it'll tell you, okay, you're either winning enough to be profitable or you're not. And so in this case, our default setting is not profitable, so we want to go ahead and tune this just a little bit and see if we can't get these 1-to-1 targets to be a little more accurate. And so the first thing I will do is I will change the threshold right here, and this is an ATR input here. You can make the ATR a little smoother if you want on your chart by making this really big. Like 200 is probably, you know, not much you're gonna see past that does much different, but 200 is fine for me right there. And then the threshold, this is what you're telling it to basically have to meet in order to re-anchor. And so if it doesn't meet that, it won't re-anchor. So we'll go ahead and just make it a little bit harder for it to anchor. And you'll see we have 25 wins and 29 losses at the moment. And as soon as we click apply, we're expecting some of these trades to disappear, because it's basically telling us now it won't re-anchor unless it gets a little bit harder in the threshold. So it really has to meet it. And so we'll go 1.2 and then 1.3. Not quite doing any good. We're just taking away trades. 1.35, we'll try 1.25, and then we'll try 1.4 and 1.45. Just want to see where we're at. So it doesn't seem to really be doing us a lot of good yet to be upping the re-anchoring. So what we can do next is change a little bit. We'll drop this actually just down to 1.2. Or 1.1. I think 1.1 had a 46%, 48% win rate. We're real close there. So we'll change the Bollinger Band next, because that is another equation that it has to exceed in order to re-anchor. And we'll go ahead and change it to something crazy like 50 and see where it goes. And we'll change it to the other side of the extremes, maybe 11, just something really low. Okay, see, we got 25, 25 at 11. So that tells me there are some profitable areas probably somewhere in these settings if we just continue walking down this path. Alright, we'll leave it at 14 for now. And we'll change the inner band input to 1.5. And we definitely have a better situation, I think, here. I'm going to change this down a little lower. Just lost way too many trades there. Yeah, so we're close, but we're not quite where we want to be. So what we will do next is we will go ahead and leave it about 1.25. That's going to be about a 50% win rate with 50 trades. So that's roughly, I think, over 10 days, 5 trades a day or something like that. So we're going to expect to see plenty of signals. Next, what we want to do is we want to adjust the look back setting. And the look back setting, that is how many bars that it's using to calculate this little formula right here. And spit it, that's all spit into the prediction line, and then that equation actually bleeds over to this, how many bars ago the predictor line is actually functioning off of. And so if it's above the prediction line that many bars ago, you will be looking at longs. If it's under, you're going to be looking at shorts, that kind of thing. But first, we want to adjust the look back setting just a little bit. The more numbers we include, the smoother this will get on our equation, so you'll eventually you'll kind of flatten it to a point where it just isn't, it loses too many trades. But yeah, in between there you might end up with some pretty good settings, and that right there is telling us we're already getting a little bit more profitable. We won 297 points and only lost 243, so there's a chance there for profitability for sure. Going to 125 on the look back, we have actually almost hit 60% on our win rate. And remember, this is only going to calculate on the amount of data you have loaded. So we're starting to get some diminishing returns up there. I think 125 has us right at 58% win rate. That's pretty dang good. I like what I'm seeing there. So we'll drop the predictor-based, the predictors bars ago, and see if we can't speed it up just a little bit and make it better. Drop it from 7 to 6, and it did go over 60%. And dropping it from 6 to 5, we've went to 62, almost 63%. Now we're at 22 wins and 13 losses. And drop it a little bit more, we're starting to see it diminish. See if any of these lower numbers, making it really fast, actually helps it at all. It doesn't seem to. We're getting closer. Now, there we go. I'm going to say this right here. Number 5 so far seems to be what we're doing the best with. I'm going to put our probability threshold back at 15%. And for now, I think what I want to do is leave these settings where it is. I like it enough to say, cool, I think we can do better at something else if we want. Let's move the threshold up just a pinch from 1.1 to 1.15. Okay, so that went to 63%. That's a little bit better. Dang, I keep hitting that taskbar. It's kind of annoying. Sorry about that. So if we go to 1.1, we only had 62% there. 1.2 went down a little bit. So it looks like 1.15, that might be a sweet spot for us. Go ahead and move it up just a little and see if anything else sticks out. If not, we will jump back to our 1.15. And it's definitely looking like the 1.15 takes the cake on this setting for this time. And so there you go. So now, that's not bad in my opinion. I like it. 63% win rate. I'm sure we could get a little better if we work at it a little more. Maybe the Bollinger Band setting could go up a little. Yeah, let's do 18 again. We'll even try 25. Something crazy. 35. Yeah, it's not really doing us much good to go up any higher, so we'll leave it right now. 15, 14, somewhere in there. Slow it down just a pinch. Maybe 17. Alright, so it didn't do anything to even move it. So 63%, almost 64. That's not bad. We got 21 wins and 12 losses. If this continues to perform, I would definitely say it's worth putting a little bit of risk here and there on for me. I can't speak for you. Target profit, I'm going to do 75 and 75 and test this out as well. And we definitely aren't making bigger targets. So it's good to know what kind of target area you are able to make. 60 and 60 did hit, so that's good news. We'll go ahead and make 100 and 100. And now to even do 200 on the target profit just to test that out and see how dynamic of a setting this really is. Of course, if your price action is choppy, you will probably get a lot of chop and not a lot of wins. So it's always good to kind of know what kind of market you're looking at. 60-60 did do good, but 54-54 did just fine as well for what I'm looking at. And what we'll do next is we will actually change the days now to 5. Alright, now 5 days will be a slightly different look at our win rate. So 15 trades have happened over the last 5 days. The last trade is obviously a loss. I'm not even going to look at that one. Okay, so here we go. This looks like there could be some wins here. We'll go ahead and turn the exit show win rate at exit on. I don't know why it keeps going that low. Alright, so with the exit on, we definitely hit that target there is what it's saying. It's green here, so we hit this target here as well. Another win. And that's a loss, a win, a loss, a win. So it's telling me right here we're doing pretty good on the C-WAP, this setting. Now, if we were going to trade this manually, maybe we'd take a look at it and see how we would. And so I like to use the regular VWAP down here as a trend identifier. And if the C-WAP is on top of it, I think of it as an option for longs, and if it's underneath it, I think of it as an option for shorts. And so if you were to look and see this, what you're probably going to look at are these pullbacks, generally after it anchors. It's like right here, pullback, pullback, they're all shorts. So you want to see it re-anchor to the bottom here, which it did here. And then you want to see it pull back in the other direction up here, so boom, pull back. So if you're looking at this live, you see it pulls back to the main VWAP and then it bounces. So now you're looking for pullbacks to the C-WAP. That's how I would trade it. I can't really tell anyone to do anything. I can only tell you to test this out and see if this makes sense to you, and then see if you like what you see with the C-WAP. And if you play with it on playback, you'll get the targets projecting as well in a lot of these situations. So we'll look for another pullback to the C-WAP. Okay, re-anchored. So now we're looking for another one. Boom, there'd be your entry. I would probably in this situation look for a different stop. Maybe even look for the stops down here, but that's really, really far, so I wouldn't probably want to do that necessarily. Okay, so there we go. Definitely a good pullback, but your stop in this situation, I'd probably look around here for this even number. Even then, that's a pretty far stop, but it did hit. Let's see here. Now the second one's probably going to get a deeper pullback since you're so far from the VWAP. But you actually would have done pretty good if you did a couple buy-ins. One here and here. Be careful. Some prop firms won't let you do that. Alright, so here we go. As you can see, it's starting to trend again. You get this mess here. Be a little bit choppier than I would want, especially since it's kind of going sideways. But I'd be looking for a new anchor. There's a new anchor. Looking for an anchor to the low side here, if you can get one. There's no real anchors to the low side, there's only this push up, so you do get some decent counter trend shorts, but I just don't love those without some confluence. Okay, so up here you do get another re-anchor, so let's see if it'll pull back and do another anchor to the low side. Alright, there's a low side anchor there, so boom here, let's wait for the pullback. There's your pullback. So either one of these pullbacks right here, and then hopefully it'll go long. Ooh, you're probably gonna stop out of that one. It went back up. He might have been able to put it down here and do it again. These are interesting choppy trends, but they are trending. And that's kind of how I like to trade the C-WAP in general, if I'm going to manually trade it. You can play around with it on different charts and see what makes sense to you. The other way I normally actually trade it now is automated. I just tune it for the beginning of the week, and then I let it run, and I take profit with the Predator. And the Predator bot automatically enters when these triangles plot. And then I just run with about 45 tick break even, and then I let it run a few for a profit target based off of what I've tuned it to. And that's how I do it. If you never use Predator, I highly suggest checking the Predator out. It's definitely one of those bots that I think are just invaluable. So to me, I love to use anything automated. It's just I don't like to sit and trade manually anymore. It's just not something I have time to do, and I like to get as automated as I can. So there are weeks it doesn't work as well as others, and it's certainly a learning process. So one last thing before we go, I want to talk about the counter trend continuation reversal distance, I believe is what it's stood for. I may be wrong on that. Confirmation or no, it has to be confirmation. It's been so long since I messed with this. Okay, so anyways, what this is right here, this is the amount of ticks that it takes the C-WAP to get away from the V-WAP in order to begin counter trend signals. So if you don't have this set low enough, you'll never see counter trend signals appear. And so to see counter trend signals, you can turn this down to a lower tick setting, like we'll just do 10, and it should start plotting a few more. You'll see a few extra trades happen here on the other sides of the VWAP where you normally wouldn't, like here. It still has to be met on the criteria. So, but in a situation like this, you get a counter trend signal pretty close to the VWAP, whereas it would normally have to get really far away from the VWAP. And so a lot of times I will play with this until I feel like there is a good tune to the current market conditions. And so it's normally, I think, set to 50 as a default, which isn't terrible. But if the market is trending, and I mean really trending a lot, you might need to turn this up really high so you don't get counter trend signals. And you can actually change the mode from anchor mode to not anchor mode. You can make it non-intraday mode where it doesn't reset, although I think resetting at the beginning of the day generally helps me. So it's up to you. You can turn off the confirmation indicator, the confirmation of having a second VWAP on there. I'd prefer it personally to be on there, so that's up to you. Play around with that on your chart, see what you think. This is just the nutshell version of this indicator, but I believe we've touched just about all the high note aspects of it and how I've used it. The other aspect of it is to turn on those targets. And if you turn the targets on, and they're always on, but it's really a matter of the threshold for them to show. So right now, that is where the target has recalculated right down here. And so if this re-anchors and shows me bearish activity, I might, if I were manually trading this, find a entry and aim for that target, at least for a first target profit. I like where it is down here. There's a swing point. I might aim just above the target. I highly recommend that you play around with these targets inside of a demo environment for a long time until you realize how they operate just a little bit, and so you have some confidence and see value in them overall, and that way you can kind of hopefully gauge a winning probability out of it before you actually put any real money at risk. But that's the gist and overall C-WAP indicator, and I hope you guys have success and enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, maybe subscribe, and feel free to join us on the Discord. That link is in the description. I offer 7-day trials on all the indicators. If you want to try them, or if you have tried them and your subscription, your trial is up and you want to keep trying them, let me know. It's important to me, and I say this a lot. I would rather you found value in the indicators before you purchase anything before. That way you don't feel like you wasted money on the indicators. There's a lot of places out there that sell these, and people just go and buy them. And I don't want to be that guy. I'd rather you actually try them and determine that, hey, these are helpful before you ever put any money towards them. So, and there are some people that feel like they need to support me. That's awesome. I greatly appreciate that. So thank you for all your support, and I hope you guys have a great night, and we'll jump into that tuning video here shortly and get that knocked out as well. So alright guys, this is Chompsky. Later.